Hi, Tom. Thanks for the time today. Recently I've heard you make reference to the MarTech jungle. Can you tell me a little bit about what you've been hearing from customers about that?
Yeah, it's a term we kind of coined, but it encapsulates some of the things they've been saying a lot lately. Number one, they think technology, especially in the MarTech space, is just kind of overwhelming. And when we see a lot of RFPs, the last thing they're actually interested in is more technology. The second thing they continue to struggle with is having so many different solutions, trying to integrate them so that they actually deliver the customer experience they're looking for is a real challenge. And then the third thing, which is the untapped opportunity, is they all see the potential of data and the application of AI to all the data they have these days. They're just not quite sure how to go about it. So navigating those three things is really the big challenge that we call the MarTech jungle.
So what is it that marketers are doing these days to address those challenges?
Well, so they're trying to look at a couple of things. Number one, as much as they say they don't want to hear about technology, they'll chase a shiny object to try to figure that out. The second thing is they do want to move towards increased personalization to really drive a rich customer experience. They're just not quite sure how to do it. So in a lot of cases, what they'll do is create workarounds. So creative ways to either work outside of the existing technology or augment what they have for technology with manual processes. Each one of those kind of leads to a dead end when they try to scale, but that's what they're trying to do to address the challenge.
In that context, let's talk about two of those challenges. So AI and personalization, both are top of mind for customers. What are some of the challenges associated with them?
Yeah, so the big thing with personalization is it's a many-to-many problem. So when marketers think about personalization, they can envision all the different inputs that would feed personalization. So a 360 customer view, customer profile, segmentation, lots of different components to feed into personalization. They also have a pretty good sense of what they want to do to deliver that customer experience. So they'll say, I want to serve up points of interest or sale items that are tailored for you or content that's tailored for you. The problem is they don't know how to match those two things together to take those many inputs and then deliver personalized outputs. They don't understand the rule set they need and the authoring tools they need to actually structure the content in the right way.
So how are you advising customers to tackle these challenges?
So when you think about personalization and AI, there's actually a couple of common things that we recommend all the time. So the first one is to acknowledge that things like personalization or even a customer experience are not the responsibility of a single department. So you're going to have to work with additional teams and the tools and infrastructure that sort of informs what they do for their part of personalization. The second part is thinking about the data and the metadata associated with your content. Because in order to drive a really accurate personalized experience, as well as to feed the modeling from AI, you need really solid data with solid metadata associated with it, aligned to your content. Because when you're delivering that content, if you don't have the right associated metadata, the models really have nothing to learn on.
So in terms of practical advice, these marketers trying to power their experiences, how are you coaching them to work within that kind of complex landscape? And what role does tooling for the composition of the experience play?
Well, the first thing we'd always say is think about tooling as the last problem. So the first problem to try to align to, and again, knowing that personalization is a team sport, is to have a very clear understanding of what the marketing goals or the customer experience goals are across all of those teams. If you align that strategy, you have a common goal to move towards. The second piece when it comes to tooling is we find that different departments will focus on their piece of that experience with their tool. What we try to do is get customers to think across that tool set to then understand how each piece is going to help orchestrate that experience or personalization strategy. And then the last piece really comes back again to process. When we think about our own tools, we try to think about how to make the user experience really obvious for the marketer so that they can focus on what are the outcomes from that personalization to drive the strategy and less about how to figure out how to use buttons in the tool itself.
And from the MarTech solution perspective, as a vendor, what role do we need to play to help alleviate some of these problems?
Well, the first thing we need to do is get out of our own way. So we try to avoid buzzwords. Even when you use, I hate to use the word AI or personalization, because it can mean so many things to so many people. So as a vendor, what we try to do is not fall into the trap of leaning on buzzwords as a proxy for strategy. The second part is, although we would be considered a technology vendor, we don't concentrate on only technology buyers like IT folks. We always try to lead with folks who are in the front line with customers. They're the people who are going to have the best understanding of what the desired customer experience is. They're also the folks that are probably funded to budget the delivery of that customer experience. So we try to focus on strategy first and avoid buzzwords.
Is it safe to say that, looking at this set of patterns ultimately helps to make it easier to navigate this MarTech jungle?
Yeah, it's like any complex problem. So again, if you go back to the beginning, you think about the many inputs, and with more data available, with 360-degree views coming online, with clients investing in CDPs, they have more data than they've ever had in their lives. Yeah. And they have very few limitations in imagining what they could do with it. On the customer experience end of it, they're getting better at working out things like, how would I map out a customer journey? And what type of personalization do I want to build into that customer journey? Where they run into the biggest question mark is how to bring those two things together, how to solve the many data points, many things I could do. So what we try to do is provide a framework, or what we're calling personalization patterns, to help narrow down what those potential choices are and solve the many-to-many problem by saying it isn't 1,000 on the left and 1,000 on the right. Each one of those might fit into one of, say, 10 patterns that you can use to then deliver a personalized experience. And then obviously our tools are tuned to work against those patterns to help make sure the user experience is seamless. The data that goes into it is understood. The constraints you're applying to personalization are easy to figure out. And then the last part is really the ability to preview, as part of the authoring experience, what you're going to be delivering. And that's probably one of the other biggest barriers is, as a marketer, when you say, I'm going to be putting this content in front of a customer, it better be right. The question is, how do you know that? So what we try to do in our own tooling is build in the ability to easily preview those different parameters and permutations. So you get a sense of very high confidence in that the personalization you're going to deliver is exactly what you're expecting and what you intended.
Yeah, this is giving me a lot to chew on. This is actually very valuable. These insights will help, I think, in building out, ultimately the user experience necessary to kind of leverage these patterns and, drive the user enhancements necessary for the future of the platform. So, listen, thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Great to be here.